Why feel these tensions and all these pressures? So what should I do? Learn to relax. 5 cents, please. What? 5 cents for just that? Is the doctor in? No, I think she's way out.
Snoopy's Reunion is both more of a Snoopy backstory and probably the most prominent example of utilizing visible speaking adults.
You're a good horse trader.
Yes, sir, I am a tough bargainer.
Snoopy's puppy farmer being a prominent character. Also bringing back Lila from Snoopy Come Home and showing her mother and more siblings. Also featuring the conflict of Snoopy not being allowed in the apartment, the same one seen in Snoopy Come Home. Although what is not consistent is the establishment of how Charlie Brown was gifted Snoopy at a young age after being bullied, here showing Charlie Brown purchasing him from the farm for only $5. Catching up to the present and showing the consequences of Snoopy separated from his siblings. The conclusion of the puppy farm being torn down is a nice realistic approach, but it doesn't really do anything outside of that, but it's fine. But Snoopy's backstory was already kind of explored. It's not like it was all new. Speaking of all not new, I'm surprised it took us this long, but we got It's Christmas Time Again, Charlie Brown. Okay, well, lots of shows have annual Christmas episodes. It's not the worst idea in the world, but a pretty viable one. And obviously the original is exceptionally important to the chronology. Nothing happens, it's just Charlie Brown shenanigans. Charlie Brown randomly has a new love interest halfway through Peggy Jean. In like the last 8 minutes, there's randomly another Christmas play. There are some religious references and reincorporation of the original score, some satire of capitalism, but the redeeming qualities are only nostalgia based, so it's only a minimally applaudable consistency between specials. I mean, like the title just says it all. Bankrupt Christmas themed nostalgia bait noise. Speaking of noise, you're in the Super Bowl, Charlie Brown, a Super Bowl special. Sports again. It's boring. The most boring sports special yet.
Mr. Franklyn Armstrong.
This also reveals Franklyn's last name Armstrong, a homage to Rob Armstrong, the creator of Jumpstart, the most successful African-American daily strip comic illustrator.
Melody, here is your new bike and your ticket to the Super Bowl.
The announcer is seen. I guess no adults is even like a rule of thumb anymore. Hopefully no more sports. I wish I was joking. It's sports in spring. They just did 2 of these in a row. Oh, it's sports with flash beagling. That's why it's unique. For the moment, this was the last Peanut special on primetime television. The viewership had seemingly declined, and the specials would continue, just on the direct-to-video market. The first being, it was my best birthday ever, Charlie Brown. Alright, birthdays, not a bad concept for a slice-of-life franchise. Kids like birthdays, even if it's not your own. It's less than half an hour, and there's somehow filler. Spoilers, it's just the same Linus-failed romance crap we've seen 1,000 times at this point. There's a scene where Charlie Brown asks Sally how the party was, even though he was there the whole f***ing time. God, this episode. It's just noise, repeating the same shit. The special released in 1997 and would be the last Peanut special of Charles Schultz's lifetime. Impactful to the specials and movies because he'd worked on all of them that he was alive for. Schultz would pass away on February 12, 2000. The beginning of the new millennium would also mark the end of the comic strip. Unlike a lot of popular strips, it would not be produced posthumously, but would be heavily reprinted. If we were doing something dirty in elementary school, we'd lay newspapers down a lot, and I'd always see the Peanuts comics, so due to his reprints in, like, 2nd grade, I thought he was still alive. I didn't find out he died until, like, years later. The final Peanuts comic strip would be a posthumous release announcing Charles Schultz's retirement as a result of failing health, but would unfortunately release one day after his death, stating, "Dear friends, I have been fortunate enough to draw Charlie Brown and his friends for almost 50 years. It has been the fulfillment of my childhood ambition. Unfortunately, I am no longer able to maintain the schedule demanded by a daily comic strip. My family does not wish Peanuts to be continued by anyone else, therefore I am announcing my retirement. I have been grateful over the years for the loyalty of our editors and the wonderful support and love expressed to me by fans of the comic strip. Charlie Brown, Snoopy, Linus, Lucy, how could I ever forget them?" But 7 months after Schultz's passing, the next special, which Schultz had creative supervision over, would be released on home media. It's the Pied Piper Charlie Brown is just a Pied Piper retelling that's not funny. Just your typical public domain spoof, featuring the most adults yet.
Business was done at the edge of town when the mice all disappeared. We saw the vermin flee. Oh, dear friend, we're not the folks to shrink from the duty of giving you a generous reward.
The ending is actually funny. The government wants Snoopy the Pied Piper to get rid of them damn rodents, but he is not paid in return, so he also gets rid of the actual rodents, the government. Only advantage of it being a modern retelling. I don't know how it performed on home media, but it would regain its TV special slot, seemingly with a curiosity of how would the franchise continue without Charles Schulz. The grand return being another holiday special sequel in 2002, a Charlie Brown Valentine. And that's not even counting the other love interest-oriented plot lines. It's just the same red-haired girl plot again, just repeating the same series running gags, even rehashing the New Year's one. But this wasn't the only awful holiday special rehash of 2002. We also got Charlie Brown's Christmas Tales. Shorts and Christmas rehashing. This concept was conceived specifically to fill a time slot. The original Christmas special runtime with commercials, if you were watching it on TV, would be 35 minutes, which exceeds a standardized time slot. So during reruns, bits and pieces were often cut down, depending where and when you were watching it, but these edits were disliked by fans because of the cultural significance and its street cred. So there was enough to make a TV special about the making of the special. A retrospective documentary hosted by Whoopi Goldberg.
You're about to meet the creators of A Charlie Brown Christmas, as well as the original cast from 37 years ago.
Adding another 18 minutes that allows 12 minutes of commercials within the hour. But for whatever reason, the retrospective would stop airing. Oh no, not Whoopi Goldberg. So to create this gap in content, an 18-minute Christmas special was created, lasting 17 and a half minutes technically, which is just a random series of Christmas shorts created to fulfill a runtime. That's it. It sucks even harder. But instead of Christmas again, we got baseball again in Lucy Must Be Traded Charlie Brown. Baseball again! And then another f***ing Christmas special, I Want a Dog for Christmas Charlie Brown. Even though we just had two of them. Rerun wants a dog, he meets Spike, then he doesn't want a dog, what the dog doing, ho ho ho. But the next special was a pitched idea that Schulz had been developing, so they decided to pick up the pieces from the wreckage. He's a bully, Charlie Brown.
Why should I play you for all the marbles?
This one is also hard to find. The first thing that pops up on Google if you search it is a TV trash review, a Nostalgia Critic clone from back in the day.
And hey, Rerun has a bunch of marbles now himself! Coinky Dink!
Hey, what's with your funny-looking friend?
Seriously, why are there so many people in this universe that don't realize Snoopy's a dog?
Thanks for the reviewer, random Doug Walker fanboy. But afterward, we got Happiness is a Warm Blanket, Charlie Brown. Another not bad concept focusing on maturity and childhood obsessions. Focusing on Linus's emotional attachment to his blanket and being forced to give it up with the threat of his grandmother snipping it apart. The blanket getting misplaced thanks to Lucy, who was doing him a favor. And what could have been a good opportunity for sole character development really doesn't do anything. Possibly establishing a reason for Linus's emotional attachment to the blanket could have actually added substance to a running gag / design attribute. There's so little cause and effect for the story, and it's not an emotional conclusion. Also featuring gags that have been done 1,000 times, a disadvantage for YouTubers that watch all of them. Ending with Linus continuing his obsession as is. Never gives us context as to Linus's insecurities. For a 44-minute special, there's not a lot done. Wasted potential with its simplicity. But it is sort of a series finale to the original specials, keyword original, because something bigger was brewing backstage. A soft reboot feature film interpretation of the series. A creative direction that was conceived by Charles Schulz's son, Craig Schulz, and his grandson, Brian Schulz, as early as 2006. The project went nowhere until 2012, with the help of 21st Century Fox subsidiary Blue Sky Studios, a now defunct company that if you don't recognize, you're not old enough to be watching my videos. Blue Sky had a bad rep for years, to the point where Disney had fully completed its acquisition of 20th Century Fox in 2021. It was officially shut down, seemingly because it was fiscally unstable as a result of COVID. But now that it's defunct, its reputation is a bit cleaner, seemingly influenced by nostalgia bias. It was arguably overhated, but its reputation had absolutely declined over the course of the 2010s. Now, there's a handful of the catalog I haven't seen or haven't seen in over a decade, but as a YouTuber, I think it's safe to say that the catalog wasn't great overall. Take that with a grain of salt. Maybe I'll make an educated statement on that one day. There are two exceptions, the Peanuts movie and Momoa, which was picked up by not another Disney subsidiary, but Annapurna Pictures, and was distributed by Netflix. However, Disney did utilize their ownage of Ice Age. But Blue Sky's The Peanuts movie is arguably a diamond in the rough. It's an enjoyable film and an effortful justice, but it could be better. The story involving expanding on the little red-haired girl plot, but There's familiarity, but it does enough to be different that it doesn't appear as repetitive in its familiarity. Well, at least some of it. There is some of that what the dog doing filler, which looks nice, but it is filler. The animation easily being its strongest redeeming quality. It's the right level 2.5D, 3D animation formatted like 2D animation. This film was arguably influential to CG adaptations of 2D characters, including the Captain Underpants' first epic movie, The Big Nate Show, The Fairly Odd Parents' New Wish, the CG SpongeBob movies, and the Big Dog Spider-Verse series. There was a clear rule of thumb about what angles the characters should be shown from to prevent lots of awkward angles that the characters weren't clearly designed for. Something that happens when translating 2D to 3D if not cleverly thought out. The facial expressions being mostly thin and flat is a great touch too. Digital 2D animation for effects and visual gags is also incorporated, which is a polished and stylistic touch that enhances the moving comic illusion. The lighting is also super precise, benefiting the overall atmosphere. The only disadvantage being the use of like 2015 pop music on a few instances, which is not only atmospherically inconsistent but also fairly dated. But we're still watching a 2010s blue sky movie at the end of the day. What can you expect? The animation is the only super ambitious element and it wastes zero potential. Thankfully it's not riddled with pointless celebrities in the cast. Thankfully Drake doesn't play Pigpen considering he was in Ice Age 4. I remember when it came out people were complaining that they showed the little red-haired girl's face, despite her design and name being revealed a long time ago. The perks of being a YouTuber. Not a masterpiece, but a much better direction. But as I said, Blue Sky shut down, so they weren't involved with the franchise adaptations afterward. But in 2018, Apple would acquire a leasing deal from ABC to stream new content featuring the IP, streaming on Apple TV+. This would legally prevent the specials from being reran on television, which does break a holiday tradition. Was probably for the best because if you're still paying for cable in 2018, then you probably have Snoopy Thanksgiving on VHS. One of the main plans of this Apple deal was to revive the classic special format that hadn't been active since 2010. Apple began making What the Dog Doin' shorts with Snoopy, but that's not the end of the world since the franchise hadn't been broken down to only Snoopy shenanigans, so I can excuse it. Especially when it's separated, it's so much easier just to skip. The first proper special being 2021's Snoopy Presents for Oddlog Sing. Snoopy refers to the Apple franchise. A New Year's special set over the course of December. The special's title referencing that one New Year's song, you know the one, that's its actual name.
I'm with my two lovely ladies. Girls, what's your resolution for 2013?
Just get rid of all my haters.
All your haters? Can I ask you something? Do you like white boys?
Lucy doubting her self-worth as a result of her grandmother's Christmas scheduling conflicts, attempting to restore her self-esteem over the course of the rest of December, adding more depth with a conflict of self-reflection. In the end, Lucy realizing the consequences of perfectionism, the same thing that created the disastrous New Year celebration. The animation being a good 2D modern update that's not quite the Peanuts movie, but if you look at some of the 2000 specials, they have like a really gross-looking PBS Kids VHS vibe. This art style is an excellent modernization, excellent lighting, use of motion blurs, color palette, and movements. The movements are still slightly three-dimensional, so it's still a good flat. This is also when background kids started appearing more consistently. Much better than the previous New Year special despite its simplicity and similarities. The next year in 2022, 3 specials would release, the first being It's the Small Things, Charlie Brown, featuring Sally admiring a flower on the baseball field and taking a desperate measure to prevent it from being destroyed. Disturbing preparation for the upcoming baseball season. There is baseball again, but thankfully it doesn't allow sports to overthrow substance, with others eventually beginning to admire the flower over baseball. The dandelion in the field causing disagreement. It's fine. Next, continuing with To Mom and Dad with Love, the first Mother's or Father's Day special, considering that they're never shown. This focusing on Peppermint Patty's insecurities of being raised without a mother, adding a layer of depth to her more tomboyish nature. But thanks to the help of Marcie taking the opportunity to appreciate the day without appropriate qualifications, focusing on morals rather than family roles, making an interesting conflict out of an anonymous character by showing the impact of the daughter, proving that exploring insecurities is still one of the strongest franchise reoccurring redeeming qualities. In addition to showing others preparation for the holiday, a great example of kids still acting like kids. One of the best of all, despite even not acknowledging Rerun. Yeah, what the hell happened to him? The final special of 2022 being Lucy's School. A new school is built, making Lucy concerned over possible differences, sort of like entering high or middle school, but obviously the characters characters don't age. Lucy forming her own school amongst her classmates, Lucy's school being ineffective from her inability to explain concepts and her students' inability to successfully question authority. Lucy outright fearing the content of professional education throughout, exploring her anxiety over the new school, as she attempts to create a more professional learning environment, creating more work than just complying to already provided education. Eventually realizing that there's nothing that she can do, the importance of education, and that she's no professional. The character development is precisely packaged, allowing a lot to be done for a simple concept, another one of the best. But afterward, the specials would begin focusing on other characters, a format which had been done before, but isn't a bad direction to be subversive. It surprisingly created what may seem like random spin-offs that justify their existence. I feel like lots of mass franchises often conceive awful spin-offs for marketability, but this isn't the case. The first being one-of-a-kind Marcie. Marcie and Peppermint Patty, as stated, got focus specials together, but never Marcie by herself. While feeling that she's only good at resolving others' conflicts rather than solving her own, disliking being Patty and others' assistant in nothing else. Holding similarities to You're Not Elected Charlie Brown with a much better emphasis on general well-being improvement rather than satirizing slice-of-life situations. Marcie is forced into the role of presidency, a position she initially refuses out of insecurity, resigning in the end. Also featuring golf but sports with more drama than comedy, avoiding the no-substance sports conflicts throughout the chronology. Does something new with its concept, and its execution dodges a repetitive nature it easily could have fallen into. The next spin-off of sorts being Welcome Home, Franklyn. Franklyn is a character with a similar franchise state to Marcie. This expanding on Franklyn's personal life, his father being in the military and forced to relocate constantly, showing a canonical explanation as to how he met the rest of the cast. Also sort of explains his absence towards the beginning of the chronology, befriending fellow loser Charlie Brown. Also being similar to You're a Good Sport Charlie Brown with a racing conflict, but actually has a narrative purpose behind the competition. Again, not too much sports, and that's a good thing. Even bringing back the myth of the Great Pumpkin in a way that doesn't feel nostalgia bait pandering, and acknowledging all the clickbait bullshit about the Thanksgiving special somehow being racist by seeing Franklyn sit on the same side as the table as others. Even holding a sparing use of licensed music with John Coltrane and Chuck Berry, the James Brown and Neil Armstrong parallels also being clever too. Any spin-off that's not creatively bankrupt garbage is worth an applause in my eyes, and this is another one of the best specials. In October 2023, concept art would leak suggesting that Blue Sky planned a Peanuts movie sequel that didn't get picked up. But in the next month, November 2023, on the 8-year anniversary of the Peanuts movie, a sequel was officially announced. With not many details yet, making this the third Blue Sky movie without Blue Sky. We have one screen cap so far, and I'm for it, even if the movie wasn't perfect. So even if Peanuts did dive into Inconsistency, I think it's safe to say that it's in a better place than most other immortal franchises. You figured a big greedy company like Apple would be a death sentence, but they've actually brought some new light into the franchise without the creator, Blue Sky as well. Yes, there's still plenty of what the dog doing to go around, which I'm not the hugest fan of, but it's like a mile above anything Disney owns.